What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. Took the last week or so off, but we are back. All right, so let's get into some baseball scores for the playoffs. For the American League, Texas swept the Baltimore Orioles in 3 games, as they have not lost a game in this postseason yet. And they advanced to the ALCS, and the Houston Nationals finished off the Minnesota Twins. They've been 3-2 in Game 4. They win that series in 4 games. And they are also headed to their 7th straight ALCS. So it'll be the Texas Rangers versus the Houston Nationals in the ALCS. Both teams are playing well. Obviously, Houston got hot at the end of the season. They'll lose that series to Kansas City late in September. Win the last couple to steal the division away from the Rangers. Texas ends up coming out of the wild card, sweeping the Rays, and then sweeping the Orioles. Houston on to the ALCS, along with the Rangers. So that should be a really good series. I picked Houston to win the World Series. I just don't see anybody beating them. I hope I'm wrong, because I'm tired of the Astros like everybody else is, but I don't think Houston loses. I have Houston winning in 6 games in that series. Even more shocking, the Diamondbacks beat the Dodgers. They win Game 3, 4-2. They sweep the Dodgers. The Arizona Diamondbacks have swept the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League Division Series. They move on to the NLCS. I think Dave Roberts has to go. He's been there a while. Forgot exactly what year he took over. I'm trying to think when Don Mattingly was let go, and then they brought Dave Roberts in. But he's been there a while. Every year, they come in with a loaded team. They spend a lot of money. They go out there. They win 95, 98, 100, 105, 110 games. Every year, they look like the favorite, or at least one of the favorites to win the World Series. And every year, they choke, and they lose in the divisional round or the championship series. Yes, they won a ring in 2020, but it was the pandemic year, 60-game season. That means nothing to me, to be honest. Every year with this club. Every freaking year. 2015, they had a great team. And then they lost in 5 to the Mets in the division series. The Mets were very good that year, and they were in the World Series for a reason, but still. Dodgers probably should have won that series. And you lose that series. It was year after year. You look at 2017. I mean, I give them a break when they lost to Houston in the World Series. Houston cheated. In 2018, they lost in they went to the World Series. Boston was just a better team. They cheated a little bit too. But 2019, I know that they lost to the Nationals who won the World Series. But still, they should have won that series in the divisional round. And then, losing to the Braves. Again, the Braves, 2021, they won the World Series, but still, the Braves had 88 wins that year. They should have beaten them in the LCS. And then, they lose last year as well, early on. Now, this year, lose to an 84-win Arizona team that you cleared by 16 games in your own division. You won the seasonal series in your own, throughout the year, a divisional rival. Comes in and sweeps you. Clayton Kershaw goes out and gives up 6 runs in the first inning. Also, what was Dave Roberts doing this year? He put Mookie Betts in. He moved him to second base late in the game in one of the games. And he pinch hit Austin Barnes late in Game 3. Guy who historically can't hit. All right, look, it's not his fault that Kershaw crapped the bed in Game 1. They got some guys out. Julio Urias obviously has multiple issues, so he's on administrative leave. He was pitching really well before he had his troubles. So that definitely hurt. We thought they were going to get Walker Buehler for the stretch run coming off Tommy John. Didn't happen. So Kershaw need to pitch better. But in Game 2, he goes to Bobby Miller, who I like. He's a young player with a lot of potential. He has ups and downs this year. He deserves to probably be on the postseason roster. But starting Game 2 of a playoff series, you're down 1-0 in a best-of-5? Come on. In Game 3, he went to Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn hasn't been good in 3 years. He's been awful. A couple of years ago, he was an American League Cy Young finalist for the White Sox. Last year with the White Sox was awful. This year with the White Sox, he was awful. Came over with the Dodgers, wasn't that much better. When he first came over, he had a couple of nice starts. After that, didn't do a whole lot. And that's who gets the do-or-die game on the road? Lance Lynn? Come on. Really? That is just ridiculous. They need to move on. Yes, he's won a lot of games in the regular season with the Dodgers. He's been there a while. Every year under him, they've won 95 to 100 plus games. But like, look at the talent he's got. If those teams didn't win anything less than 95 games, something will be wrong. Like, at some point, they can't just be satisfied with winning 100 games in the regular season and losing early in the playoffs. Like, this team should have won at least two or three World Series rings since at least 2015. I mean, yes, they had outside of the pandemic year, which for all sports, for that basketball, those championship years, no matter who won, I wouldn't have cared. Doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Not good. Not good for the Dodgers. They need to look at Dave Roberts and be like, maybe he just can't get it done. And then another upset, the Phillies defeat the Atlanta Braves last night. They win. I believe it was 4-1. No, excuse me, it was 3-1. Phillies moving on to the NLCS. They beat the Braves in 4 games. Last year, the Braves were a juggernaut, and the Phillies were the last wildcard team. Phillies shocked the world, beating them in the NLDS, and of course, they went to the World Series. And then this year in the NLDS, Braves had the best record in baseball with 104 wins. Phillies were the first wild card, and they go in and they beat Atlanta in 4 games, and the Phillies are on to NLCS. I told people, Atlanta, their pitching isn't, perfect. It's not bad, but, you look at, Spencer Strider is really good. He's a strikeout machine. He's very good, but he also tends to give up a lot of home runs and gives up some big numbers sometimes. And he has struggled in the playoffs in the past. Max Fried's coming off an injury. Bryce Adler, who's their Game 3 starter, struggled down the stretch. And their bullpen isn't as deep as in past years. I tried to tell people, and no one listened to me, but it's all right. Phillies move on, and that Phillies team, they are something else. They go into a whole other gear of the playoffs. I mean, they're very good this year. They got a great lineup. The rotation's very good. Bullpen isn't great, but it's okay. Rob Thompson's done a really good job. He took over in May of 2022. They were floundering when he took over, and last year turned them around, got them to the playoffs, went on a Cinderella run to the World Series. And now this year, they were very good. They win 90 games to make the playoffs, and now they're in the NLCS for the second year in a row. And I think we're getting Astros and Phillies again, and the Astros are probably going to beat them again. I hate the Phillies, but this is actually a very likable team. I will say, just the overall players on the squad. Part of it, I hate the Braves even more, but still. But my opinion doesn't matter. It was a really good series. This Phillies team is just built for the playoffs. Attaboy Phillies. I had to do that one in there. I saw the Phillies have the shirts. But like Bryce Harper, he is incredible. Absolutely incredible. He is phenomenal. I'm not sure if there's ever been an MLB player that's lived up to the hype and then some, like Bryce Harper has. Like, we were talking about him when he was still in high school. He is everything you want in a superstar and more. When he first came into the league, I didn't love him. I thought, he was a little overrated, is the hype really worth it? I thought he was a little arrogant, but as time's gone on, he's torched the Mets. He's been in the Mets division his whole career, first with the Washington Nationals, not the Philadelphia Phillies, but the guy is so good. He's freaking amazing. First ballot Hall of Famer. He is an amazing player. In fact, he's become underrated over time because people don't realize just how consistent he's been. He's an absolutely incredible player. All right, so that's MLB playoffs. A couple things that happened over the last week. Well, Mets general manager Billy Upper stepped down. Saw coming from a mile away once they brought in Stearns. And now the Mets are being investigated for misusing the injury list. Every team does it. The Mets just got caught or somebody snitched. For who snitched, I'm not sure. I don't think it was Buck Showalter. You know, obviously they let him go as manager, but I don't think it was him. He's not that kind of guy. I don't think it was Epler on his way out. I mean, he knew the Mets were bringing in the president of baseball operations most likely this offseason. He knew it was going to be Stearns. But you never know. But I don't think it was him. There's a rumor that maybe it was the trainer, like if they're overhauling their coaching staff and they're letting the trainer go. Also, the trainer would know a thing or two about the injuries, obviously. Could have been him. But, there's no evidence either way to say either way. So, I don't know. But we will see what happens with that. Sandy Alcantara had Tommy John surgery, so he's out for next year. That's a tough loss for the Marlins and a tough break for Sandy Alcantara, who was the Cy Young last year. Had a lot of pitchers that had Tommy John this year. It really is a shame. So hopefully we can reverse that trend soon. And the Blue Jays have brought back John Schneider as their manager for 2024. I don't understand. What did they see from him? He was pitiful in that playoff series in the first round playoff series against Tampa Bay Rays. It was horrible. It's beyond horrible. Jose Barrios is pitching a great game. He's got like 47 pitches in the 4th or the 5th inning, and they got a Yusei Kikuchi. I don't understand why he did that. Toronto's way too talented to not win a playoff game 2 years in a row. Also, Ross Atkins basically went out and blamed him, and then you're gonna bring him back. But he said, yeah, that wasn't a good decision. But he's been back as manager. Like, pick one. Either support the decision, which no one would agree with, but at least, it makes sense why you brought him back. Or be like, yeah, I didn't love that decision, didn't love what he did, we're going to move on. Don't be like, oh, yeah, it wasn't a good decision, but we're going to bring him back anyway. Like, what? Come on, bro. Really? That made no sense to me. I would not have brought Schneider back. Toronto need to change. And they got a couple of things to think about in the offseason. If Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wants an extension, do you give it to him? He didn't have a great year this year. He's really only had one truly great year to me. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a phenomenal player. Obviously, the talent's there. Outside of 2 years ago, in 2022, he was very good, but he wasn't like one of the 2 or 3 best players on the planet. Certainly wasn't this year. He was very good, and he ended the year very well, but to me, he was only been elite once. He's been in the league, 5 years? I think his first year came up early on in 2019. Yeah, we had the big year in 21. That's about it. So Toronto's got a lot of things to think about this off season. And by Clayton Kershaw, they asked him about is he going to play next year? He says, I don't know how to answer that. He says, he missed all of July with a shoulder problem. He said that might have hurt him in his playoff start where he got rocked. Only recorded 1 out against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He says he's going to do another examination on his shoulder. He's going to take time to evaluate his future. He's got left to prove. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and he was never great in the playoff, but still, his regular season numbers are more than enough to get him in. Although it was during the pandemic year, he does have a World Series ring. Nothing really left to prove. In fact, I would retire. Just as bad as he was in this year's playoffs, it might just be time. He's had a lot of injuries the last few years, but he's still at a 2.4 ERA, only in 137 innings, or 131 innings, something like that. But still, he missed a bunch of time. But when he's healthy, he's still one of the 10 best pitchers on the planet. But he's also, he's only going to give you 20 or 22, 23 starts, opposed to 30. Because he has had a lot of injuries. So we'll see what he does. That's all we have for baseball. My NHL preview, I'm pushing back a little bit further than I would like to have. My plans to do that Monday. So that's going to be Monday. I will do a preview for NHL season. Of course, the season just got underway a couple of days ago. My New York Rangers won their first game against the Buffalo Sabres, 5-1. Was very happy. They looked very good. Out for the 5 goals. Chris Kreider for power play goal and the short-handed goals. So special teams looked really good. Lafreniere had a goal. They scored 5 goals. They looked good defensively. Shesterkin made 23 saves. He looked pretty good. Buffalo also isn't that great. They're very young. They're in a rebuild. They're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. Compared to the Raiders, who are probably still a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. So they should be winning that game, but I was very happy with the first game, for sure. Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks are letting Connor Garvin seek a trade. I mean, if I played for the Canucks, I'd want to be traded too, so I don't blame him. And a little bit of sad news: Barry Melrose, former NHL coach and beloved analyst for ESPN, he announced he has Parkinson's. He has retired from ESPN to focus on his health. So I wish him a speedy recovery. As for the NBA, the Sixers won an All-Star player from the Clippers. They're trying to, either get an All-Star or we're gonna play they can turn into an All-Star. Can they end this saga already with Harden and Morey and all these guys? Like, I'm just tired of it. I've ranted about it enough. I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest. Like, can you just trade him? Like, you're not gonna get freaking Kawhi Leonard and 3 first-round picks. I know they're asking for Kawhi Leonard. I'm being sarcastic, but you're not gonna get that much for the dude. The guy isn't that good. And actually, we're gonna have, I think, I have an old friend, RC Milton's gonna come on the mic here. An old friend, Randy. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if Randy can hear me.
Sorry, Jake, can you hear me?
Yep, there you are, Randy. Randy, what's up, man?
Not too much. How you doing?
Good, Randy. I was trying to view your comments on the Twitter space, but it's not coming up. Might be my Wi-Fi, but what's up, dude?
Well, yeah, some blue days here in Toronto, kind of pardon the pun, but we're pretty bummed that Toronto didn't make it. And,
Yeah.
I mean that's a big talk around town. What do you do with what exactly happened? I mean, the word around here is that John Schneider didn't have a choice but to pull Barrios.
Okay.
I think that there's too many hands in the cookie jar, and that either Shapiro or Atkins are just so married into analytics. And Jake, if you remember the chat that we had with regards to analytics and regards to pitchers, that
Right.
There was no reason to pull Jose Barrios. So, I personally would love to see Schneider back because I think he is a manager that does connect with players, but they just have to divorce themselves from analytics.
Yeah, that's the problem with managers in today's league for baseball. There's too many teams. Like, it's almost like the GMs are almost managing, like they're almost like in the manager's ear tongue to do this. They're too analytically driven. I'm not saying don't use analytics. It certainly has its place, but there's certain times you gotta use your eyes and be like, the guy only has X amount of pitches. It's this inning. It's a big game. The score is this. If he's out there pitching well and he gives us the best shot, you gotta ride with him. Even if the numbers say, oh yeah, you should pull him, or this pitcher will be better in this situation.
I mean, years ago, the analytics was a left-handed pitcher get a left-handed batter
Right.
get a left-handed pitcher.
Of course, yes.
And I mean, that seemed to work just fine. And there's so much controversy, and the list is endless with regards to pulling pitchers, drowning at your bullpen. You made an incredible point with regards to Aaron Boone and the New York Yankees on my podcast. And there's a reason why relief pitchers are relief pitchers, because they're not good enough to be starting pitchers.
Right.
So I do think that baseball has really handicapped themselves to this. With regards to Guerrero, very quickly, it's going to be interesting to see what Toronto does, because he's going to look for top dollar, and there will be a team that pays him. So does Toronto want to make that kind of investment? And
yeah, that's a tough decision for sure. Thankfully, he's still under contract, but I don't know for how much longer, and he might want an extension. I'm not sure.
It's 2 years, I believe.
Okay, he's got 2 more years.
Starting next season, so next season and the year after. He is a marketable face.
Oh yeah.
And Toronto does have the
Oh yeah.
And their pitching is quite strong now.
Hmm.
Kiermaier's expected to walk. Brandon Belt, Matt Chapman. Uh, you know, they definitely need a veteran presence.
Hmm.
But do they? Could they move on without those guys in particular? You do need role players.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting to see what will happen.
Yeah, they got a pretty big offseason because they're in a tough division. I think the Orioles are going to be good for a very long time. Tampa, don't see them winning a World Series until they stop with this really odd strategy, which works in the regular season but does not in the postseason. So Toronto, to me, I think they're the third best team in their division. So they really gotta, figure something out, a way to kind of at least be ahead of the Rays and try to do a better job competing for that division title because it's tough. And like you said, I mean they got a good squad. They might lose Chapman, who's a phenomenal third baseman, and he's got a lot of power. And you're gonna lose a couple of guys, so it'll be interesting to see what they do.
It's interesting with Chapman because I mean, obviously his defensive presence is perhaps the best in the league, but offensively he's a bit of an outlier. He does strike out a lot.
He does, yeah,
I
he
don't
definitely does.
have his stats in front of me, but
Hmm.
offensively he was a bit of an albatross. So uh, you know he's going to demand a lot of bank as well. So
Oh yeah,
I don't see him coming back. Uh, but it would be. I think it would be a positive to see somebody like Kiermaier and Belt. I mean, I think that kind of role model is definitely needed because your stars on your team are still kids. I mean, with Guerrero and Bichette, and if Kevin Biggio can improve, he had a somewhat decent year this year.
hmm,
And with the pitching as well, I mean, is Chris Bassett going to come back? I think more than anything is that the Yankees and the Red Sox are only going to be bad for so long
right,
because
yeah,
and that Toronto does need to establish themselves right away because they got to strike while the kettle is hot. I mean,
yep,
Baltimore's got pieces where they can make a decent run, but
hmm,
for a while. But Toronto, they have some big decisions to make.
yeah. They absolutely do. And their payroll I think was pretty high going into the year. I mean, the luxury tax is obviously much higher now, and to me, I don't think teams should really worry too much about the luxury tax. The owners are billionaires. I don't think it's that big of a deal, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But we will see what happens because they got some things to figure out for sure. All right, Randy. Is there anything else that's on your mind?
Well, I mean, now we're in the start of hockey season. Of
Yep.
course, Leafs won game one, so some of us, myself included, is planning where we're going to be for the parade. But it's definitely there's always optimism. I mean, they uh, were in tough against Montreal, who's not expected to have a good year.
Hmm.
So you mentioned Buffalo, and around here, a lot of people are thinking that Buffalo could make a decent run. I mean,
Really?
they got some pieces with Tage Thompson, with
Hmm.
him especially. I think there's a lot of people that are really impressed by him with Olafson and Rasmus Dahlin. I mean, they got some parts. So um, I think that they could threaten for a playoff spot. I'm really interested in Ottawa as well.
Ottawa's a very intriguing team.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they, with the young pieces that they have, is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? They got some. It's going to be a tough run for the Leafs, but yeah, because the division is going to be challenging.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference is really, really top heavy. It's very competitive. You think obviously you have your major contenders, Carolina. You can probably put the Devils in that category. The Rangers are kind of maybe at the same table. Even the Pittsburgh Penguins, I think are a good team this year. So Eastern Conference is very, very good. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting if there's a couple of young teams that have been in the playoffs in a while that might have a shot of creeping in. We just mentioned Ottawa and Buffalo. Could Detroit possibly sneak back into the playoffs? They have some young pieces as well. I'm not sure if they could quite sneak in. I thought they might have. I thought they were gonna maybe sneak in last year. Came up a little short. What your thoughts are on that, Randy? But maybe the Detroit Red
Yeah,
Wings sneaking in.
I yeah. In terms of Detroit, I'm really skeptical on Pittsburgh personally, just because of their age.
They are very old. They are very old.
Yeah, I mean, hey, kudos to Crosby, Malkin, and Letang for
Yeah,
having that such a long tenure. Longest current or longest
they've been there a long time.
trio tandem ever, like 18 years. I mean,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's extraordinary, but uh, you know how much energy does Sid have left? Detroit, I haven't really followed too much on. You know, if I remember, they were somewhat impressive, but no, I can't even remember where they were last year, how they did, but
They
um,
finished like 6, 8, or maybe 10 points out. They made as down the stretch. They were playing well. They got kind of close. They came up a little short though. They were somewhat close to a spot. The East was also very tough last year.
yeah. So I think I don't know too much about Detroit personally, but
Mhm.
yeah, but I mean more than. Sorry, Jake.
It's
Like I
okay.
said, I'm outside here, and some guy's ripping it on his but yeah, no, I mean with Pittsburgh, I think it's going to be a swan song, and then but I don't see them doing a heck of a lot this season.
Yeah, I mean they had a good offseason. Obviously, they completely revamped the front office. They bring in Kyle Dubas, and he made a couple of moves I like. I didn't love that he gave a long term to Tristan Jarry, who's a very good goalie, but he's also always hurt. And like I think their team is better than they were last year. And could they be like a 5 or 6 in the East? Yeah, but just like you said, for a team that's this old, like does winning a playoff series or not, maybe not even a playoff series matter that much? I'm not sure if it does. And like you said, I don't know how much longer they have left.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Um, and I mean, I guess with sticking with you didn't bring up basketball, but it's a matter of time before. Well, preseason starting now, and
Mhm.
yeah, no, it's. I mean, with the Raptors, my beloved Raptors, uh, I still think that they got some a core there. That I mean,
Mhm.
sure, they're one superstar away, but there's a lot of teams that are one superstar away. So, um, what are the big names? Who's going to impress? Like, I'm definitely interested to see Wembanyama do
Yeah,
his thing in San Antonio. Yeah, no, it's going to be a great winter, fall and winter for sports, like always.
absolutely. Yeah, and with the Raptors, they got some pieces I like. Pascal Siakam is really good. They got Scotty Barnes, who had a little bit of a sophomore slump last year, but was phenomenal as a rookie. He's a kid that I really like. I think he's very special. Gary Trent's a good player. So they have some nice young players down there, but I think a lot of people expected them to kind of build off last year. I mean, the year prior to last year, I think they were like a 6 seed, and they really didn't. They barely stuck into the plans. You lose in the plans. And didn't do, you lose Van Vliet in the offseason. You're basically replacing with Dennis Schroeder. Of course, you make the coaching change. You bring in the assistant from the Grizzlies after you move on from Nick Nurse. So it'll be
But
interesting to see what happens.
yeah, and truthfully, I think with Fred that obviously future comes first, and
Hmm.
he's getting some serious coin in
Yes.
Houston. I don't know how. I mean, Fred is a very romantic player. I mean, he worked so hard. He
Hmm.
was obviously instrumental in the championship, but that championship was 4 years ago. Um, I'm gonna make a prediction right here on Talking Sports with Jake,
Uh-huh.
and I am not expecting much from Philadelphia. I don't think Nick
Me
Nurse
either.
is going to.
I'm right there with you.
I don't think Nick Nurse is like an upper echelon coach. I really don't. I mean, I am of the opinion that Dwayne Casey could have coached that team to the championship.
Mm.
He ran his starters, Nick Nurse did, to the ground, and obviously James Harden is just a complete nightmare.
Oh God.
And uh, you know, like yeah, sure, you have Embiid, and I really like Tyrese Maxey, but
Hmm.
how is that bench?
Yeah.
I don't see a lot coming out of Philadelphia, and I'm really interested to see what happens with James Harden. Is he going to finally eat some humble pie and realize how much of a detriment he is? I mean, this is the third time that he's wanted out from
Yeah.
a team. Well, actually, the fourth. I mean, well, you can't really count OKC, but
Yeah.
between Brooklyn and Houston and Philly,
Oh
and
Lord.
then you know, it's uh, it's a shame. But yeah, what are they going to do with him?
Yeah, and the basically stuck because he exercised his option. He's due $35 million a year. He's not that great anymore. I mean, he be a third option, give you 18 points and 9 assists? Yeah, but the guy, like you said, he can't be humble and he can't accept a lower role. So he's got to be at least like that co-star, where he has to score 24 points a game. He's not good in the playoffs. He's getting older. He's a nut. He's a nut job. He's very tiring. He's a head case. Like no one's gonna give up. All-star talent and first-round picks for him. That's what the Sixers want. So Sixers really either have to take back a young role player, and see if they can develop him, and the probably either a first-round pick well down the line, or maybe a second-round pick or two, or they're gonna have to try and reconcile, which I don't really think is possible at this point.
And you got to wonder, like, how long Joel Embiid is going to,
Exactly. That's another point.
until he starts to get soured, because obviously he's one of the faces of the league, and rightfully so. Um, but if Philly can't handle, their team, then I mean he's not going to he's not. I wouldn't stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's a team that could either surprise and have a strong season, or be going for the play-in tournament.
Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, I think they're like a 6 or 7 in the East. I don't think they're anything special because outside of Embiid, there isn't a whole lot there. We can't count on Harden to even play for them at all this year. And even if he does play, let's even half the year before they trade him, how much is he going to give them? Considering he's not happy and he's not the same player anymore. There isn't a lot there, and I would not be surprised if Joel Embiid is not on the Sixers by this point next season. I think I think he's gonna, if they lose in the first round this year, which I think is very possible. He might just have to look at himself and be like, this just isn't a spot where I'm going to win a championship.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, with Milwaukee, like, what is Damian Lillard going to be? I think that truthfully that he has definitely a lot of skill, but he hasn't really done anything in
He
his
has not.
career.
No, he's done
Now
nothing.
he's never had a sidekick like a two-time MVP and champion like Giannis. So
Yeah.
it is there enough ball to go around with those two? So yeah, I think Milwaukee would be very interesting this coming season.
Yeah, and I think they got a lot of pressure on them because now, they got, to me they still need one more legit option because just because Giannis, as great as he is, he's doesn't really have an outside shot. So if we're able to shut down the 3-point shot from Milwaukee, it becomes a little easier to contain Giannis. And now they have a dangerous 3-point shooter in Damian Lillard. That's going to really help. So now you're going to have to pick and choose. You either can guard the perimeter, but now Giannis is going to have a field day in the paint, or you could guard the paint a little more. But now Damian Lillard is going to have a field day from a 3-point line, so it's going to be tough. They also got to stay healthy. The Boston Celtics are there, of course. But yeah, and the Bucks are coming off a very disappointing first round exit. They make the coaching change, so yeah, there's a lot of pressure right now. And now Giannis has seen a little bit ticked off there. He did an interview saying that he wants to win, but didn't really commit to winning in Milwaukee. So if Milwaukee loses it early in the playoffs, could Giannis be like, maybe this isn't the spot for me anymore?
And you can see the dedication that Giannis has for
Hmm.
Milwaukee. I
Yeah.
mean, they gave him the opportunity, and you know, but obviously, uh, Giannis gave to Milwaukee everything that they did. So, there isn't a lot of the only person that I could think of, well, two that is just completely dedicated to the franchise is Mike Trout and Salvador Perez.
Yeah.
Beyond them, I mean, I don't know who is that loyal where they're going to
They're
just
very
ride it
far
out.
and few between in the NBA.
Yeah, yeah. Jake, listen, so great to chat with you again, my friend.
Of
I
course,
really
Randy.
hope that we
Thank you.
could talk some ball on my show. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, you got to defend your trivia crown, which
I
you
do. I do.
single-handedly. Yeah. So hopefully we could organize something soon.
Absolutely, Randy. And for those of you listening, Randy is the host of the What's Up Sports podcast. It's a great show. I was on it recently. If you follow us on Twitter, you would have you probably would have seen it. He just posted a clip of one of my segments on my take on the Tommy John surgery. So definitely check that out. I definitely plan to be on that show again somewhat soon. So Randy, let's get that going soon. And thanks again for coming on today.
You bet. See ya.
Have a good one, Randy. That was Randy. I've known him since the Covercast days. I was on his show recently. Always fun talking sports with him. But let's move on to some football. Let's do the AP rankings for heading into I think that's week 7 for college football. So Georgia remains the top ranked team in the country. Number 2 is Michigan. Ohio State shoots up 1 to 3rd. Florida State is ranked 4th. Oklahoma shoots up number 5 to their big win over Texas. Penn State is ranked 6th. Washington is ranked 7th. Oregon's ranked 8th. Texas plummets to 9th. USC is now ranked 10th. I'm telling you, USC, they're going to lose some random games here like they always do. They're going to do it to us again. Alabama's ranked 11th. North Carolina's at 12th. Ole Miss at 13th. Louisville at 14th. I will say, I did not have the Louisville Cardinals being in the top 15 for football on my bingo card this season. That is something else. Yeah, Oregon State at 15, Utah at 16, Duke at 17. Come on, Duke football's good. UCLA is 18th, Washington State is 19th. 20th is Tennessee, 21st Notre Dame. They plummet after losing to Louisville. They suffered their second loss. LSU is 22nd. Kansas is 23rd. Kentucky is 24th. And Miami is 25th. They plummet after that god awful loss to Georgia Tech. What is Mel Crystal doing not taking a knee? Why is he a Division I football coach? Like, legitimately. He needs to be let go over there. He is not good at what he does. By the way, let's do game picks for college football. Top-ranked Georgia playing Vanderbilt. That is just not even a fair matchup. Georgia will win by a lot. Definitely cover the 32.5 if you ask me. Michigan plays Indiana. That game's not going to be much better. Indiana sucks. They haven't been good at football in a while. They had one decent year a couple of years ago, but I'm taking Michigan. Number 3, Ohio State against Purdue. Purdue was okay last year. It's not really, they're not good this year. They're once again terrible. Ohio State should win by a lot. Number 4, Florida State against Syracuse in the ACC matchup. Syracuse football is actually pretty solid. But Florida State's really good this year. They've had a couple of close contests against some bad teams. They only beat Boston College by 3. So I'm not sold on them, but they'll definitely beat Syracuse. Number 11, Alabama against Arkansas. Arkansas football is awful. Alabama should roll. Number 16, Utah against Cal. Cal's not very good. Utah should win that game. Number 6, Penn State against UMass. Why are they playing UMass? I don't know why that's even the game. Penn State's gonna win by the 41.5 line. They're probably gonna cover. But maybe the game in the week. Number 8, Oregon's number 7, Washington. Both teams 5-0. 2 Pac-12 contenders. I'm gonna take Washington. I think Washington's underrated. I think they're a phenomenal team. I think they might be in the college football playoff this year. Michael Penix might be one of the Heisman finalists right now. He's throwing for almost 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns against only 2 interceptions. He's really, really good. I like Bo Nix at Oregon. And Oregon's very good as well. Very good in the trenches. They're loaded offensively. Should be a phenomenal game. I'm going to take Washington in that game. Number 19, Tennessee against Texas A&M. I'll take Tennessee. Number 23, Kansas against Oklahoma State. I will take Kansas now. Okay, State's not great. Number 14, Louisville against Pitt. I will take Louisville. Pittsburgh's not very good. We got number 19, Washington State against Arizona. I'll take Washington State. We got Auburn against number 22, LSU. LSU's not that great, but I will take LSU for sure. Another good game is number 10, USC against number 21, Notre Dame. This should be a really good game, but I'm going to take the Trojans. Notre Dame every year disappoints me, and they're no different this year. Losing to Ohio State, who is a top 3 team in the country right now, for a reason, but because he had 10 men on the field 2 plays in a row, and then you lose by multiple scores to freaking Louisville, who's ranked 14th in the country right now. They're a lot better than I expected, but Louisville, you lose by 2 scores to them? Come on. Notre Dame's got a good defense. Should be a very good game. They're actually favored by 2.5 in this game, but I don't really know why. But I'm going to take USC now, and that should be a really good game. Number 25, Miami is number 12, UNC. No, the coach that doesn't know how to kneel will not be winning this game. I'm taking UNC. Number 24, Kentucky against Missouri. Missouri's pretty good this year. They're on the brink of being ranked this year. If they win this game, they most likely will be ranked, but I think Kentucky will nick them in this game. Yeah, number 18, UCLA against number 15, Oregon State. I think Oregon State slips by. And number 17, Duke against NC State. I will take Duke in the ACC battle. All right, let's talk about the NFL. Actually, no, let's talk about week 5 first. Last week, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to talk about that since I was off the last week. I talked about Thursday night football game. The Jets beat the Broncos 31-21. Sean Payton, shut up, okay? Shut up. You are a clown. I won't go as intense as you thought I was probably going to be, because I have another show for my senior project that I talked about with Justin. The first episode, we already recorded it. It's going to be on YouTube soon. I completely went off on him, so I'll save my breath, but what a clown. Absolute clown. So, just for that one, Jaguars over the Bills, 25-20 in London. You had Falcons over the Texans, 21-19. Desmond Ridder played very well in that game, for over 300 yards in that game. Stroud looked good as well, especially considering he had a lot of injuries on 2 receivers. Lions beat the Panthers 42-24. You know, good God, Carolina is bad. 0-5. They're in the real, but God, they're bad. Lions are also phenomenal this year. Colts over Titans, 23-16. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson got hurt. He's out 4 to 8 weeks for a shoulder problem. He's on injured reserve. Zach Moss had a big game. Ran for 165 and 2 touchdowns. And they got Jonathan Taylor coming back. Got Dolphins over Giants, 31-16. Good God, that Giants offensive line is bad. Giants are awful this year. Unfortunately, with Devin A-Chain, he's now on IR at the next 4 games at least. But knee problem. Saint shut out the Patriots 34-0. The Patriots, they are awful. Mac Jones is not the guy. He is not him. New England's in for a long year. Now their defense is depleted, but my God, that offense is pitiful. Steelers over the Ravens 17-10. Kenny Pickett to Pickens for that late touchdown. Ravens, their offense looks really bad. Lamar's not playing that well. He had a couple bad turnovers, and their receivers have no hands at all. They cannot catch. It's not Raven. The AFC North is not as good as we all thought it was going to be. Eagles beat the Rams 23-14. Rams definitely don't expect this here, especially on defense, but Hurts and the Eagles come through. They're still 5-0. Bengals over the Cardinals 34-20. Joe Burrow, his best game of the year. Threw for 317, 3 touchdowns, just 1 pick. Jamar Chase, my God, performance of the year so far. 15 catches, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Chiefs over the Vikings 27-20. Kelsey had a big game, 10 catches, 600 yards, and a touchdown. And Niners destroy the Cowboys 42-10. Brock Purdy was phenomenal for 252 yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks. And also, Dak Prescott, you're not the guy. You are not the guy. You are not him. I'm sorry, you're just not. You are not good. He's not that good. I'm sorry. He just isn't. He can't beat a real team. He just can't. He was awful in that game. Three really bad interceptions. The Raiders beat the Packers 17-13. Why that game was on Monday Football, I don't know. But my God, Jordan Love, he is terrible. Absolutely terrible through 3 picks. That last one, Christian Watson needs to make a little more of an effort to go up and get that. But that's not a good decision on Love to throw that ball. The whole drive, Raiders are giving you the short pass. You had 50 seconds, a timeout in your back pocket. Scramble or make a short pass, get out of bounds like you've been doing the whole drive, and go from there. He is absolutely terrible. Awful. Hey, lose to the Raiders. They suck. Now let's do game picks for this week for the NFL. Before I do, Thursday Night Football was last night. Chiefs beat the Broncos 19-8. My God, that Broncos team is bad. Russell Wilson has nothing left. The running game isn't that great. The O-line's horrible. The defense is awful. Sean Payton's overrated. That team is just so bad. 1-5. The Chiefs have beat them 16 straight times. The Chiefs have beaten the Broncos 16 games in a row. I think the last time they beat them, I don't know if iPhone 7 was out. Now we're on, 15? What the heck? Kelsey had 124 yards in that one. Russell Wilson looked awful. What else is there to say? All right, let's do game picks. Start with the 1 o'clock slot. Actually, no, there's a London game at 9:30. Ravens and Titans. I'm taking the Ravens. Their offense doesn't look great, but my God, the Titans are not good. Their offense is even more pitiful. I still think Derrick Henry is one of the league's best backs, but just the O-line is horrible. Ryan Tannehill is atrocious. He has nothing left. There isn't a lot of weapons there. That team is terrible. They are hopeless. I'm taking the Ravens. At this point, if I'm Tennessee, I'm benching Tannehill, maybe even looking to trade him and just give Will Levis a shot. Because I don't think he's very good, but he hasn't played a game yet. Commanders and Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons. Sam Howell's looked good, for sure, and they got a lot of weapons, but their offensive line is horrible, and their defense outside of the D-line is horrible. They can't stop anybody. Yes, they can get pressure on the quarterback, but Atlantic Colts will run the ball really well. This Merrill's coming off his best game as a pro by far. I'm taking Atlanta. Vikings Bears. This is a freaking toilet bowl, first of all. I think it was last week when Justin was had Ashton on my show, and Justin was in the back too. He was helping out, and he was like, no, not a mid off. A mid off on the team aren't bad, but both just really mediocre. This is a toilet bowl. Which teams are really bad. So that was very funny last week. But Vikings, Bears, definitely tolerable. I am taking the Bears. The Vikings don't have Justin Jefferson next 4 weeks. Their offense will be nearly as explosive without him. They can't stop anybody. The Bears' offense looks like one of those offenses that, when they play a god-awful defense like Denver or Washington, or in this case Minnesota, they can do a lot of things. When they don't, when they play anybody who actually has a defense, they can't do anything. But the Vikings are in for a long year. The Bears are too, but I think the Bears squeak by in this one. Seahawks, Bengals. I'm actually taking Seattle in this one. They're coming off a bye, so they should be fresh. They've looked good ever since that tough loss week 1 to the Rams. They played very well. The Bengals obviously come off their best game. I'm still not completely sold yet. Getting T. Higgins back will definitely help, but Seattle's got a great secondary. So I actually think Seattle take this one. 49ers and Browns. I'm taking the Niners. The Browns without Nick Chubb might be in for a long year. It might be one of those typical Brown years. Brock Purdy has played absolutely phenomenal. Brown's got a really good defense. This could be a slightly low scoring game, but I think the Niners are going to overpower the Browns in this one. Could it be a close game? It could. San Francisco's favored by 9.5. I think plus 9.5 isn't a bad idea for Cleveland. The 49ers might not cover that, but they will get the win. Panthers, Dolphins. Dolphins by a lot. They're favored by two touchdowns. Carolina is awful. Bryce Young, he's struggled a little bit. He doesn't seem confident right now. He's got no offensive line. His receivers are horrible. Now Miles Sanders is out as well as top back, who hasn't even played well this far, but was also in the running lanes. That secondary can't stop anybody. Dolphins are going to put up a big number against them. Definitely taking Miami. Colts, Jaguars. I'm going to take Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew starting for Indy, who I do like. He's a very good backup. He's played well when he's had to fill in for Anthony Richardson. And Jonathan Taylor should play a lot more in this game. But Jacksonville's offense is starting to come together. Their defense has played well. I'm taking Jacksonville. Saints, Texans. That's who decides to put that on the schedule. That's a mid-off. I'm going to take the Saints. Texans got some injuries. They won't have Tank Dell, probably been their best receiver so far for this game. Not sure if Nico Collins is going to play. They got injuries in the secondary. Still really, really young. Saints defenses look very good. Derek Carr has looked all right. And they obviously come over a convincing over the Patriots, who suck, but still. So I'll take the Saints. 405, Patriots and Raiders. That's a god-awful game. I'm actually going to take the Raiders. Patriots are awful. Mac Jones is awful. I don't know why he's still starting. I think Max Crosby is going to get a lot of pressure on Mac Jones, force him to make some mistakes. The Raiders are going to give Jimmy G too much time. Devontae Adams is going to pick them apart. I'm taking the Raiders. 425, Cardinals and Rams. I'm going to take the Rams. Cardinals have been a little more competitive than we thought, but still only 1-4. The Rams got a really good offense. They're better than I thought they were going to be. I'm going to take the Rams. Lions, Bucks. I'm taking the Lions. I think Amon-Ra and Jamar Gibbs are going to play in this game, which will definitely help. Bucks looked a little better than expected, but the Lions are really, really good. I'm taking the Lions. Also, Jets and Eagles. I would love to say I think the Jets are going to win, but I do have the Eagles. I think it's a close game. I don't think the Eagles cover the 6.5, but I am taking the Eagles. If Zach Wilson's going to get killed in that game, that dominant Eagles front side. I know Jalen Carr hurt his ankle in practice. He might not play. Even if Adam, they're going to get a lot of pressure on him. I'm hoping he's able to hold his own. They just hopefully got to run the ball, but Eagles are also very tough against the run as well. So just have a great defense that maybe can contain the Eagles' offense, but I think the Eagles are definitely going to win that game. That's a tough matchup for the Jets. Sunday Night Football is the Bills against the Giants. Well, why were Giants on primetime 3 times in 5 weeks? Why? They weren't even that good going into the year. No one thought they'd be this bad, but come on. That was so stupid. I get them playing Dallas, but playing the Seahawks and then the Bills. Bills by many. Daniel Jones has been rolled out with the neck injury. Tyrod Taylor is starting from the Giants in front of that god-awful offensive line. Not sure if Saquon plays. I don't really care if he does. This game is going to be ugly. Bills will cover the 15 points. Bills by a lot. Monday Night Football, we got the Cowboys and the Chargers. I'm very low on the Cowboys, but they're going to beat the Chargers. I know Austin Eckler's coming back, most likely for this game. But the Chargers defense is not very good. Micah Parsons will get pressure on Herbert. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. All right, that's what I got for NFL. We got the Denver Broncos have let go of Frank Clark. We're trying to trade him. Now they cut him. Well, it's up to fire dies in Denver. Everyone needs to go. Russ, Peyton, the GM George Payton, one of the worst teams I've ever seen in any sport. The whole team just erase it from existence. Good God, they're bad. All right, we've talked some wrestling before we close out the show. Fastlane. We got the Tag Team Championship. Judgment Day. Priest and Balor defended against Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Rhodes and Uso come out on top. JD McDonald tried to get involved, but he inadvertently hit Priest with a chair and basically cost them the championships. That was a good match. The LWL against which was Ray and Santos Escobar against Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Carrillo comes out and helps them. He's now the new member of LWL. Very happy he's back. That was very cool to see him come out. And they are to pick up the win. The match wasn't that good. It was very mid, to be honest, but I am happy that Carrillo is back in WWE full time. The WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky defends against Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Io Sky picks up the win with help from Bayley. Even though Io Sky told her to stay in the back, Bayley came out and saved the day. Another tag team match. John Cena and LA Knight against the Bloodline, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. Cena and Knight pick up the win. That was a solid match. And the main event was the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins against Shinsuke Nakamura in the last man standing. Rollins wins. Was a phenomenal match. Had the press conference afterwards was pretty funny. Cena and LA Knight, it was cool to see John Cena that he still was giving 100%. It's cool to see LA Knight's comments on how big he's gotten. They had Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, who I think may have had some alcohol in them. It was very funny. Then you had Damage Control. The one reporter asked Io Sky about Taylor Swift. Hopefully he's no longer has a job. That was just ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous question. Then Triple H had some interesting comments. He said, he talked about John Cena, how great he is. He talked about LA Knight. Talked about how important Bayley is to the women's division. And then apparently on SmackDown tonight, he's got an important announcement, so we'll see what he does with that. And then Monday Night Raw from his Monday. The main event was Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso defending their tag titles against KO and Sami Zayn. Rhodes and Uso win the match. It was really good, and then they hugged after the match. Even Kevin Owens, who would have walked out of the ring, and then he came back in and hugged both Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, who obviously he's got problems with. For the other matches, it was Ivar defeating Kofi Kingston in that Viking Rules match. See, Valhalla, was a distraction in that one. Then Ricochet attacked Shinsuke Nakamura backstage. They had Damian Priest attack JD McDonough, and then they all screamed at JD McDonough to go take care of Drew McIntyre, and then he didn't because McIntyre beat him in the match, even with that Dominic Mysterio trying to provide a distraction. They had Nia Jax against Raquel Rodriguez. No contest because Rhea Ripley interfered with them both, and then Shayna Baszler interfered with her, so we got a whole feud going on with those four women. And then the triple threat match for the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship, it was Bronson Reed beating Ricochet and Chad Gable. Of course, Ricochet was attacked by Nakamura as he was going down the ramp. So Bronson will be facing Gunther for the title. That's two large men. That should be a really good match. Imperium attack DIY, which is, of course, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa in a backstage interview. And the NXT Women's Championship, Becky Lynch defeated Tegan Nox. And then they shook it after the match. It was cool. So that's Monday Night Raw. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.